Hello, welcome to Biology for You. In this video, we are going to discuss the basic idea of the Southern blotting. In the series of videos, we have been discussing different processes in genetic engineering. So, here, this Southern blotting is basically a type of blotting technique. There are many other kinds of blotting techniques as well, like Western blotting, Northern blotting, mainly. So basically, these blotting techniques all are meant for the transfer of this biomolecule, either DNA, RNA, or a protein, from the gel matrix. So these gel matrix are used for the separation and resolution of these different proteins and DNA molecules. So on gel matrix, the proteins, DNA or RNA got separated based on their molecular weight differences. And so here, in order to identify one such fragment which is used for our experimental purposes, or maybe a part of DNA that is going to be isolated. So in order to identify or isolate a fragment from all these set of fragments, we need to go for such different procedures. So, but this gel matrix on which they are separated, these biomolecules got separated, will not support for such procedures. So because of this delicate nature, these gels are very much delicate. They will not resist for the heat treatments and different chemical treatments. So first what we need to do is, we need to transfer all these fragments in the same way, same pattern, onto the other inert membrane, which immobilize all these fragments on this membrane, and which support for such procedures in which can identify or isolate some of those fragments. So that is the basic importance of the blotting technique. Here, in order to make them immobilized, or in order to make them permanently bonded with the membrane so that they will not be easily degraded, or the membrane must be resistant towards different temperatures and temperature or chemical treatments, we need to go for blotting. So that is the basic need for the blotting techniques. And here there are many kinds of blotting. Southern blotting for DNAs, Northern blotting for RNA, Western blotting for protein. So southwestern blotting. The southwestern blotting is meant for the identification of the DNA and protein interactions, and eastern blotting is for the post-translational modifications. So like that, there are many other kinds of blottings, and these basic southern blotting, northern blotting and western blotting are basically main popular methods in this series. And here we are going to discuss southern blotting. This southern blotting technique is developed by the scientist called Southern. So this basic technique is named after him. So coming to the detailed procedure of the southern blotting. So first we need to isolate the DNA. We need to go for blotting. We need to go for restriction enzymes, restriction enzyme treatment, so that the fragments will be obtained. These fragments will be on gel electrophoresis. We need to transfer them to the inert membrane, like nylon membrane, maybe nitrocellulose membrane. So this is the basic process of blotting. So once after this blotting is happened, we need to go for hybridization to identify these genes present on this blotting membrane, and for that we need to go for autoradiography, or fluorescent, based on fluorescence we may go for spectroscopic techniques, so on. So these three are the basic steps: isolation, blotting followed by identification. So this is the whole process of the Southern blotting, the key steps present in this process. So coming to the details of the procedure, first step of the Southern blotting, we need to isolate the DNA and from the organism, experimental organism, or maybe from the clone already prepared from that experimental organism, maybe from the cDNA library, maybe from the PCR product that we made out of the experimental organism's genome, or maybe from other sources. So first we need to isolate the DNA in its pure form. Secondly, the isolated DNA may be very lengthy. Generally, we need to go for restriction digestion to make them into small processable fragments. Restriction enzyme treatment. Thirdly, Zell electrophoresis. So here the DNA will be isolated, restricted into fragments, and all these fragments will be separated based on their molecular weights on the Zell electrophoresis technique. And here we need to go for blotting technique here, blotting. So for that, first there is a step called depurination. This is not essential step. This depurination can be only applied when the length of fragments are very big. So if for the large molecular weight fragments or lengthy fragments are not easily transferred from the Zell matrix to the blotting membrane. So for that we need to cleave them into small fragments, very small fragments, so that they will be easily go and transfer, attach with that nylon membrane or nitrocellulose membrane. So basically that is the need of the depurination. If the fragment length is not that big, then we need not to go for depurination. So for the depurination, that means make them into even smaller fragments. We need to treat this whole Zell electrophoresis Zell matrix with the 0.2 molar HCl. So this 0.2 molar HCl will depurinate. That means it removes the purines from certain positions of the DNA fragment, and this fragments remains in the same place, but the nicks will be created. So once after this base got removed, the phosphodiester bond will also be cleaved, so that the smaller fragments will be obtained, but all fragments will be at the same position where the original fragment got separated on the Zell matrix. So that is the process of depurination. So coming to the next process, denaturation. So basically the fragments present on this Zell matrix are double stranded. To make them into single stranded fragments, here we are going to use 4 molar NaCl, so that this alkaline treatment will hydrolyze the hydrogen bonds present between 2 strands of the DNA and separate them into the 2 single-stranded fragments. One strand will be washed away, and only the single-stranded DNAs will be present on the Zell matrix by this step. This is an essential step. We need to must follow this step, followed by next thing is blotting. So, okay, we already have the DNA molecules ready for the blotting on the Zell matrix. So we need to go for blotting procedure now. So for that we are going to use two kinds of membranes majorly, nylon membranes or nitrocellulose membranes. The procedure for blotting a bit different by the type of membrane we are going to use. So here basically we are going to use this capillary blotting technique here for the Southern blotting, for the transfer of the DNA majorly. There are many other kinds of blottings like electroblotting is there. So generally high molecular proteins will be blotted using this electroblotting, but for DNA molecules Southern blotting generally go with the capillary blotting. That means by the capillary action of these membranes, we are going to transfer the DNA fragments from gel electrophoresis to this membrane. So the setup is like this, there will be container filled with the buffer. Type of the buffer again will be changed with the type of the membrane we are going to use, and generally nitrocellulose membrane or nylon membrane. So generally for nitrocellulose membranes, here the tank will be filled with the buffer, SSC buffer. That means sodium citrate, sodium chloride and sodium citrate buffer. So for the nylon membranes, here we are going to use alkaline buffer. Generally, the solid support will be dipped on the will be immersed on this buffer containing tank, and on which there will be a filter paper. Filter paper dipped in is placed on the solid support or the sponge in such a way that both of its ends must be dipped into the buffer solution. So on top of that, we are going to place the gel matrix on which basically the separated DNAs are present, and on top of the gel there will be membrane. It could be nitrocellulose membrane or nylon membrane, and top of everything again there will be very large bunch of filter papers, and above all there will be a weight. So the Southern blotting setup will be more or less similar to this. So here the buffer will start moving from here to upwards, because due to the small pores present on these filter papers, gel matrix, the buffer will go upwards, and along as the buffer is going upwards, it will take DNAs present in this gel matrix to the nitrocellulose membrane. But here the nitrocellulose membrane will immobilize. That means it will not allow the DNA fragments to go forward. So the DNA will be attached with this nitrocellulose membrane, and the buffer will move further. So once after this all blotting capillary blotting is carried, all DNA fragments present on this gel matrix will go upward and attach with this membrane. And here for the nylon membranes, here we are going to use alkaline buffer, and for this only 2 to 3 hours blotting process is sufficient. For the nitrocellulose membrane, with the SSC buffer. Here we are going to use 20x SSC buffer. That means the concentration of the SSC buffer is 20 times higher, and for this 8 into 24 hours of the blotting processor need to be carried. That means it need to be settled down for the 8 into 24 hours. Coming to the next process, once after all DNAs are transferred from the filter paper or gel matrix to the nitrocellulose membrane or nylon membrane, here we need to again take that membrane out, and that will be soaked in the 2x SSC buffer. So there the DNAs will be again properly bound with that membrane, and the non-specific bindings, like if DNA is go and attach with the membrane non-specifically, then that will be easily washed off. So once after this blotting procedure has carried, we need to do baking. That means, so here up to here we have our nitrocellulose membrane containing DNAs. So we need to make them permanently immobilized on this membrane so that we can easily go for the identification procedures. So for that, generally we need to immobilize the DNA fragments present on the membrane. For that, we need to treat this whole membrane with 80 degrees centigrade for 2 hours, so that by the heat treatment the DNA fragments will be immobilized. If we are using nylon membranes, the baking step, heat treatment will be omitted. Instead, we can use UV radiation alternatively. So that is sufficient, because these nylon membranes are even for the blotting procedure, using with nylon membranes, the time will be reduced for the transfer main blotting procedure. So because these nylon membranes are basically have affinity towards the DNA. So based on the charge, they attract the DNA and they will be easily immobilized and permanently covalently bonded with that membrane. So with the nylon membranes, the blotting step, the basic transfer of the transfer step will be reduced, the time span, and in the baking process, the UV treatment is sufficient. We need not to go for heat treatment. So once after these fragments got immobilized on the nylon membrane, we can go for the identification process. That means identification of one gene or like that. So for that, generally for identification of the certain fragments or maybe gene of our interest, like one specific gene among the set of fragments present on the nylon membrane, we need to go for procedures like autoradiography and all. For that, generally we are going to use set of probes. Here the probe is nothing but a oligonucleotide. So this is basically our oligonucleotide, which has the complementary sequences with the target DNA. So here Based on this complementary nature, it can go and bind with the target DNA so that the target DNA will be identified. So here we can use different probes, like we can directly use the DNA, target DNA as a probe. A part of target DNA can be used. By fragmentation, we make a small fragment obtained from the target DNA. We can also use it as a probe. If we don't have the target DNA, we can artificially synthesize the part of target DNA and we can use it as probe. Or else we can also use, if you don't have any idea about the target DNA based on the sequence, maybe even you don't have your target DNA isolated before this, then we can also use a protein, maybe amino acid sequence, for the constructing the probe. So based on the amino acid sequence, we can determine the probable sequence in the target DNA, and that will be artificially synthesized, and that can be used as a probe. We can also use a PCR product. We can also use a part from the cDNA library. So any other kind of probe can be used. These probes may be smaller or larger. That means we ideally use 15 to 20 nucleotide length. We can also use very large probes like 100 nucleotide length. But with the very large probes, if we use, that will be the process will be very much complicated. The treatment with this very large probe will be difficult. If you go for small probes, even smaller than this, then there is a possibility of non-specific binding. If you go with this large probe, there is a problem of complexity, and if you go with this small probe, there is a problem of non-specific binding. So the ideal probe length is 15 to 20 nucleotide. Coming to generally, the membrane will be treated before going for probe hybridization. So here the membrane will be treated with non-specific DNAs or RNAs like salmon sperm DNA, or maybe yeast tRNA, and also the non-biological polymers like FeCol and bovine serum albumin 10x SSE. So we are going to treat the nylon membranes or nitrocellulose membranes with this pre-hybridization buffer. So because of the treatment with this pre-hybridization buffer, non-specific sequences will be blocked. This is a kind of blocking step. So by this pre-hybridization treatment with the nylon membranes, here we are going to block all non-specific DNAs, and there is a availability of the specific DNA sequences for the process in hybridization with the specific probe. So these are the set of components present in the pre-hybridization buffer. So next step is hybridization with probe. As we already discussed, this probe is nothing but a small nucleotide oligonucleotide which has the complementary sequence to the target DNA. That means it helps us to identify the target DNA. It helps the probe to bind with the target DNA, eventually select it. So here this probe containing basically oligonucleotide, as we already discussed, that could be taken from any source like cDNA, or maybe from the PCR product, or maybe chemically synthesized based on the sequence idea, or maybe from the amino acid sequence. It can also be synthesized. So we need to go for the hybridization to bind this probe with the target DNA. For that, the two types of conditions will be provided: either stringent hybridization or non-stringent hybridization. Generally, if the probe is highly complementary to the target DNA, so if the probe has all nucleotides complementary with this target DNA, we'll go with stringent conditions, stringent hybridization conditions. And if you don't have the highly complementary sequence, but here or there is a non-specific bindings possible, non-specific nucleotides we used for the probe making. So then we need to go for the non-stringent conditions for the probe binding, that means hybridization. Here generally the common conditions are, here we are going to use 2x SSC buffer and 1% STS. So this kind of solution containing probe DNA will be used for the hybridization. So these nylon membranes or nitrocellulose membranes will be treated with this buffer, so that probes present in this solution will go and bind with the target DNA. So these are this set of common conditions. Coming to the stringent conditions, if the probe is highly complementary, the ionic strength will be increased and the temperatures also increased. And if the non-stringent conditions need to be applied for non-specific probe, that may be a partially non-complementary sequence present in the probe, in somewhere else in the probe, then we need to go for non-stringent conditions like low ionic strength and low temperatures. So this is the basic hybridization process. The buffer will be the same, but the stringent conditions based on the complementary nature of the probe will be determined, and that kind of conditions only be applied for the hybridization of probe with the target DNA. So till here we isolated our gene, we fragmented it, and the cell electrophoresis is carried for the fragment separation, and depurination for the making the fragments even smaller if the length of fragments are very large, and denaturation is carried to make them into single-stranded DNAs. Here blotting technique, this is the basic key process in the whole procedure, in which the DNA will be transferred from gel matrix to the nylon membranes, and during the baking step the DNA is already transferred on the nylon membranes got immobilized, and during the pre-hybridization we are going to block all non-specific sequences on the DNA. And here in the hybridization, this probe can easily go and bind with the target DNA based on the complementary nature. And in the last step, here we are going to identify the target DNA. So for the identification of target DNA, as we already discussed, we can use probe tagged with. Here, the probes we are used in the hybridization procedure are generally tagged with either fluorescent label or maybe radioisotope or maybe an enzyme which generally treats the reacts with the substrate, a specific substrate. So here fluorescent label will produce fluorescency and that will be monitored by spectrophotometric techniques. And here if that is radio label, then we need to go for autoradiography. So in the autoradiography we are going to visualize this probe binding or the target DNA, and if the enzyme is used to tag with the probe, then substrate will be added. Based on the enzyme and substrate complex, we are going to identify this target DNA. Generally, these radioisotopes are used for the feasibility, and the autoradiography process is like that. Here, these nylon membranes or nitrocellulose membranes will be, so these membranes are already having DNA present on them, and one of which may have this probe already binded with them. So that is going to be selected or identified in this autoradiography process. These nylon membranes are placed on the photographic plate. Generally, these photographic plates are coated with the silver halide. So here, as we discussed, this is radio labeled probe. Radioisotopes like P32 are generally used for the identification of these target DNAs. So here, this probe here is radio labeled with P32, so that because of this radioisotope, the action of this probe, here the silver halide will be reduced to elemental silver, and that will decolorize the specific place, and the white spot on this black background will be obtained, and that indicates the position of the target DNA present on the nylon membrane. So thereby we are going to identify the target DNA. So this is the basic idea of autoradiography, in which the this target DNA will be isolated and visualized.